All right, welcome back to the Homestand Show. Time to talk some baseball, and we bring in Frank Stampfl of Fantasy Baseball Today. How you doing, Frank?
I'm doing very well, man. Happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. The Blue Jays, the starting rotation is starting to figure it out a little bit over this last turn. And Jose Berrios, how about that? 7 innings, 9 Ks, zero earned against the Chicago White Sox. Is it time to stop worrying about Jose?
He's looked really good, man, these past three outings. I know the first two were a little bit rough, but you look at these last three starts: 19 innings pitched, 11 hits, only 3 earned runs, 18 strikeouts to 2 walks. It's a 1.42 ERA, and he looks like a completely different pitcher compared to last year. That slurve is nasty. It looks like it's back to getting whiffs again, and he doesn't usually rely on the changeup very much, but this is the best that I've ever seen that pitch look so far. Everything comes back to the fastball. He needs a fastball, one of his two. He's got the four seam, he's got the sinker. So far, that sinker this season has looked really, really good. I was watching that start against the White Sox. He had a 96 mile per hour two seam fastball against Yasmani Grandal, a left handed batter. Looked like he was going right at him and then broke back over the plate for a strike. And if he can get that pitch over for strikes, I think a lot of good things are going to happen for Jose Berrios this season. Beyond the pitch mix, he's keeping the walks down and the hard contact down as well. His average exit velocity is 87 miles per hour. That's 3 miles per hour down compared to last year. So we know that he was getting crushed, allowing a lot of hard contact, but the pitch mix seems to be working, keeping the walks down, keeping the hard contact. And if he does that, obviously good things will follow.
So, Frank, what do you put down his past struggles to? It can you say it's confidence?
Yeah, I think a lot of times with pitching, right? Like I'm constantly diving into the numbers, host a fantasy baseball podcast, but a lot of it is conviction too, right? Having confidence in your pitches and hitting your spots, right? Jose Barrios, when he's off, he's missing spots within the zone and he's getting hit hard. He doesn't usually allow that many walks. And so far this year, his control has been even better than we've seen in years past. But if he misses his spots within the zone, that's when things can kind of get out of control and allows all the hard contact and the home runs. If he can hit his spots within the zone, I think you could say that for so many pitchers in baseball. But if Jose Barrios can do that based on the stuff that he has, then I think he's going to be really good.
Speaking of confidence, Nate Pearson back in the major leagues, and for Jays fans, I mean, they thought this guy would be the next Roger Clemens, Roy Halladay a couple of years ago. Now it didn't work out for him. He's in the bullpen right now. Looked okay, obviously, in just 1 inning, hit a man. But I mean, how does he and how do people deal with him moving forward and his expectations?
I think he's going to be a bullpen guy, at least for the foreseeable future. And this comes from someone who actually had Nate Pearson on a dynasty league in fantasy baseball. So I was hoping he would turn out to be a starter. But I think given the injuries that he's had the past couple of years and just his style of pitching, right? It's a hard fastball. It's a really good breaking pitch as well. I think you use him in spurts. Maybe he becomes that multi-inning fireman type reliever, which look, you can never have too many of those. I know they made some moves this offseason. They brought in Eric Swanson, Jordan Romano, one of the best closers in baseball. But if he can be that, 1 to 2 inning kind of guy, bring him in high leverage situations and he can get whiffs and get lots of strikeouts with that slider, then that's another weapon in the bullpen, which look, everybody needs those pitchers. So maybe down the line, if there's an injury and they could start to transition him back into a starter, but for the foreseeable future, I think he's going to be a bullpen arm for them.
Sticking with the Blue Jays starting rotation, Alek Manoah got off to a hot start. He had a nice outing against your Yankees. I know you're wearing the Rangers hat. But what do you make so far of Alek Manoah's start to his season? There's been ups and there's been some downs.
It's been a perfect storm of bad performance. Right? I guess you could call it an imperfect storm, right? If you're a Blue Jays fan, uncharacteristically 15 walks in his first 4 outings, which I don't care what pitcher you are. If you're walking 15 batters in 4 starts, it's just not going to work out. His swinging strike rate and his overall strikeout rate is down so far this season. He's allowing more barrels than ever before. So if you're just calculating all of those things together, giving up free passes, not getting strikeouts, so he's giving up more contact, and he's giving up more hard contact. Those three things together are just going to lead to bad performance. And how did he succeed against the Yankees? He kept the walks down. Just 1 walk in that performance, 0 home runs allowed. Only 8 swinging strikes. I think we all want to see more whiffs, especially for Blue Jays fans and for fantasy baseball managers alike. My working theory so far with Alek Manoah this season has been the pitch clock. And I think many pitchers are still adjusting. It's going to take some time. Obviously, we have the shift restrictions as well. I mean, there are so many rules that came into play this season that were working against pitchers. And Alek Manoah, according to StatCast last year, he was one of the slowest starting pitchers in the game. He was very deliberate. He took his time. So I think it's going to take time, especially for someone like Alek Manoah, who normally uses a lot of that pitch clock, and those things could just kind of spiral out of control where, if he's running low on stamina, maybe he can't hit his spots and he's walking guys, and then he's giving up hard contact as well. So I think it's going to take some time. A glimmer of hope too is that I feel like his slider has been very unlucky so far this season. It has a 368 batting average against, with a 252 expected batting average, according to StatCast. The slugging percentage on that pitch, 684. The expected slug, 429. So he's had some bad luck so far with the slider, and I feel like the pitch clock has been working against him. But this is someone who was one of the best pitchers in all of baseball last year. I have faith he's going to get back on track.
We're speaking with Frank Stampfl of Fantasy Baseball today. You're touching on the pitch clock there. What's the biggest adjustment pitchers have had to make with this new pitch clock in the MLB?
Yeah, I think timing, right? Timing is everything. And it's not just pitchers. I mean, the hitters, players have talked about this openly. Juan Soto has said, I have to get back in the box. He usually has this little Juan Soto shuffle, and he's not the only one. It's both hitters and pitchers, but timing is everything, right? In this sport, it's so hard to just pinpoint one thing. And, I've seen some pitchers actually take advantage of the pitch clock so far. I saw Corbin Burns last week. It was a 3-2 count, 2 outs. And he knew that as soon as he picked up his leg, the runner on second base would be off and running, right? So he waits down until 1 second left on the pitch clock, and he picks up his leg, and he turns around, and he picks the guy off at third base. I thought it was genius. I would love to see more pitchers take advantage of it that way, but I think it's timing, and I think especially for someone like Alek Manoah, there's a bunch of relief pitchers. Kenley Jansen coming into the year, there was a lot of concerns about him. How would he adjust, because he is the slowest pitcher in baseball, right? So far, he's done really well. So I think every pitcher is different, but really the timing has been everything with this pitch clock.
Given all the adjustments, do we think that the first month of the season this year means less than previous years, or all the stats?
It's really hard to say, too. It comes back to the baseball, too, right? Trying to figure out which baseball MLB is actually using right now, because on top of the shift restriction, so batting average is up across baseball. We know that there are rules that promote stolen bases this year as well. So steals are way up. The success rate on stolen bases is way up as well. And on top of that, home runs are up. Home run to fly ball ratio is way up, not just compared to last year's overall number, but compared to last April. If you think about typically the first month of the season, it's very cold, and we don't normally see the ball fly the way that it does in the summer months in June, July, August. So far, home run to fly ball ratio is up this month compared to what it was all of last year. So there has been some suspicion that, are we back to using juice balls again? So if we have juice balls and shift restrictions and stolen bases being up and a pitch clock, that's why you're seeing on a nightly basis, runs are being scored at an alarming rate. And starting pitching is completely unpredictable right now. Outside of Garrett Cole, who's arguably been the most consistent baseball pitcher in baseball this year, even the best pitchers, they have had at least one blow up start this season. And I think it's because of all of those factors kind of coming together. Kind of like what I said with Alek Manoah. It's been a perfect storm of things coming against pitching so far this season. And frankly, from a betting or a fantasy baseball perspective, it's been really frustrating because, we're trying to predict things. We're trying to project forward. And it's really hard to predict when, frankly, we just don't even know what's going on in the game.
George Springer, he had a good night at the plate last night against the White Sox, 3 for 4, 3 singles. But overall, he's been fairly cold. You look at his slash line, 219, 279, 323 through 96 at bats. Has he been underperforming or just unlucky?
I think he's underperformed so far this season. He's batting 219 with a 323 slug, just a 602 OPS so far this year. And he's getting underneath the ball too much so far. He has 6 infield pop-ups already, and he had 18 all of last season. So he's on pace for way more than 18. And these are automatic outs, right? Strikeouts and infield pop-ups. That's what you want to avoid most. And so I think he's just getting underneath the ball a little bit. I think the timing is probably off a little bit for him. His hard contact is also way down. His approach has been mostly up the middle. If you look at his distribution of hits, he's been going to center field more so than anywhere else so far this season. And last year, his pull rate this year is 33%. Last year, that was 48%. So I think he's got to get back to get out ahead of the ball, pull it a little bit more, and hopefully, he can. Good things will happen. The hard contact will start to come if he can get back to pulling balls this season.
Looking at the AL East at the moment, such an interesting, difficult division. as it always has been. But at the moment, you have the Tampa Bay Rays at the top, Baltimore, Toronto, and the Yankees just trailing them, as well as Boston, game over 500 at the moment. If I were to ask you to fill in the blank at the end of the season, blank will win the AL East, who do you say?
Oh man, it's so hard to bet against Tampa Bay right now, right? With what they're doing, 20-4, the run differential is plus 88 entering Wednesday's
Crazy.
action. The pitching has been phenomenal. And think about this. Their pitching has been so great. That's losing Jeffrey Springs. Tyler Glasnow is not even back with this team. And apparently they have the luxury to just send down Taj Bradley, who looks like one of the best pitching prospects in all of baseball. So it is unreal what they've done so far. They are, if you look at the offense, they're first in runs, they're first in home runs, they're second in hits so far. And something that stood out to me is there is a clear emphasis in their organization, a philosophy, that to increase their launch angle. Across the board, their hitters are having career years. Yandy Diaz, Randy Arozarena, Wander Franco. The ground ball rate is down. The fly ball rate is up, and they're hitting the ball hard. You hit the ball hard and put it in the air, good things are going to happen. That's why a lot of the, I guess, older talking heads, right, that you see watching baseball games and stuff, they'll say, oh, why do we care about launch angle? Why do we care about exit velocity? Well, there are proven statistics that show that if you hit the ball hard and put it in the air, good things are going to happen. More extra base hits, more home runs. So far, Tampa Bay has done a fantastic job of raising that launch angle and hitting the ball in the air. And as a result, I mean, we are seeing what's going on right now with them.
When you're looking at the landscape of the American League, I know it's early, only 1 month in, but which team has been the most underwhelming or most disappointing team you've seen so far?
Can I say the Yankees? I mean, I am a Yankees fan, right? And, they are sitting near the bottom of the American League East. And I saw this stat. They are 28th in hits entering Wednesday's action, less than the Oakland A's. Think about that. The Oakland A's are actively trying to lose baseball games. The Yankees have one of the biggest payrolls in all of baseball. They have less hits than the Oakland A's. Now, I know that there have been a lot of injuries, as there are every year. Guys, I could do... we could come back. I'll do a whole day on just the New York Yankees and their training staff, because I don't know what they're doing. They revamped their training staff a couple of years ago. These same players keep getting hurt. Giancarlo Stanton cannot stay healthy. Luis Severino cannot stay healthy. They go out and sign Carlos Rodon to a 6-year contract, someone who has readily dealt with arm injuries, shoulder injuries in the past. He's had Tommy John surgery. Now he was dealing with an elbow, a forearm injury, and now he's dealing with a back strain as well. So they just cannot get out of their own way. Lots of injuries, but the offense has been terrible so far. The top 4 in that lineup, okay, they're all pretty good. Anthony Volpe, he's coming around. He's leading off now. Aaron Judge. You've got Gleyber Torres, DJ LeMahieu. Once you get into the back half of that lineup, it's a bunch of retreads. I mean, Willie Calhoun, Franchi Cordero. So the Yankees have been a disaster so far. Garrett Cole has been amazing, but he can't do it himself. He's one pitcher on a baseball team. I would say among teams with the highest expectations, the Yankees, frankly, have been one of the biggest disappointments in baseball.
Frank, I have to ask you quickly before we let you go. I see John Starks in the background there. The Knicks get it done tonight against the Cavs?
Oh, gosh. I'm going to say yes. I think they got the Cleveland Cavs on the ropes right now. I was actually at the game in MSG on Sunday, game 4, and it's just electric. I've never been in an environment like that. Actually, of all the sports teams that I root for, the Knicks are the ones that I'm the biggest fan of. So, man, if they could ever win a championship, I already told my wife, you won't see me for a week. I'm going to disappear. I'm going to go party somewhere. But I think they get it done. I think they get it done in 5 games against the Cavs.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, good luck to you and your Knicks. Frank Stampfl, let's do this again soon.
Thanks, man.